So today I have received the Commodore 64 video cable, also the drive cable. And I was actually impressed to find this online at a reasonable price and interesting. So I'm going to set everything up, the Commodore 64, put the chips back in, and I had to get the monitor from my main desktop because it's the only one I have with a composite input, and we'll see. I have a feeling that 64 may work with the new fuse. We shall see. Right, here we go. I put all the chips back. Didn't do anything to this board, to be honest. So it's plugged to the power supply. It's got the video output. The keyboard is not connected at the moment. Again, I don't know much about Commodore 64s, but it should, if you are familiar with it a little bit, it goes to that blue basic screen. And also it's in the house, I have a cartridge which I can use to run some tests if it's not working, or even if it's working, to test everything. But for now, first test that you want to do is power it up, see that the fuse doesn't blow again, and see what it does, to be honest. If it works, if it doesn't work, and we'll move from there. Which one is off and which one is on? I don't know. I think this is off. Anyway, let's give it 15 watts and let's power it up and see what happens. I will also check even if it doesn't work, I will check the voltages. So let me put this here. It's always a reflection. And let's see what happens. So give him power now. I think board is off. Power it up. Don't see anything happening. Let's check the voltages. So that's the output, I think. Yeah, 11 input, 5 output, and here we go, 21 input and 12 output. Okay, so we do have power, because if I switch that off, I don't think there's any. Yeah, it's going down, it's just capacitors. Okay, so it is dead, which I suppose it's a good thing. So first thing I want to try is just check that nothing is burning. I have a thermal camera, but this is an easy test. Okay, nothing seems to be burning here. Okay, right, so I'm assuming that this cable works with the monitor. I think so, to be honest. I don't see why not. I've used those monitors with the Apple II, so it would be great to be able to test it with something that works. But anyways, so the next step is to try it's called the det test cartridge, and see if we get any. It basically works without some of the components here. I think it works without the ROMs and I think they're called the kernels, which means I may be able to see some indication of what's wrong with it. What usually happens on these systems is the RAM modules get bad, but let's see what happens. That's interesting. Right, so this is my cartridge that I bought on eBay. It's called the 18-1 det test. So by selecting these, it has an EEPROM on it, and by selecting these switches, you can cycle through different types of diagnostics. So right now I don't know which is which, to be honest. I will guess I'll try with the first one. I guess I'll give it I'll wash this board if I can fix it. Okay, and see what happens. again, if it's the one I'm thinking about, it takes a few seconds, and then you see flashes on screen, and the flashes are telling you what's wrong with it, and you need to Google it. But let's give it a go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, nothing, completely dead. I guess this will require a little bit more than that. Yeah. Okay, one thing I read is, I think this is the sound chip called the SID, maybe. And I think it's not required for the computer. So in case there's something wrong with this, I guess it's a good idea to pull it out. I think also the dead test doesn't need some of these chips, but I can't remember exactly which one, so I'll leave them there for a sec. 3, 2, 1, go. Again, I can see some of the chips are getting like warm, but not hot. So something's happening. Okay, it's not good. Well, it's not good, but it's expected. So I guess at this stage, you want to hook up your oscilloscope and see what happens, to be honest. Okay, so here we are. I got ground connected to ground. So the first step is the usual stuff. So that's the main CPU, and you want to see if the clock is coming in. You want to see whether the reset line is doing what it's supposed to do, and then you want to start checking whether there's activity on the data line, address lines, you know, the usual suspects. So I've got, again, I'll overlay a pinout of the CPU here, and let me check. The clock is coming on pin number 1, but first let's check the voltage, which is coming on pin number 6. So power is on pin number 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is 5 volts. That's good. Okay, and clock in is number 1, and we do have a clock which is 1 megahertz, which I suppose this is what should happen. And then you want to check the reset line, which is pin 40, and pin 40 is high, which I guess is what's supposed to happen. Again, it should start low and then go high almost straight away. Yeah, I think I need to double check it, but it looks healthy to me. So everything is fine there. Next step, I guess it could be checking some address lines. This is address line 14, pin 22. Oops. And there's not much happening here. 13, sorry, address 15, pin 23, nothing happening here. Let's see what happens because if you get stuck, it probably stopped processing. So let's switch off and switch on again and see if there's any activity, just for a split second before it stops. A little bit, something happens. So we know something's happening. We don't know anything, but anyway. 13, nothing. 12, nothing. 11, nothing. 10, nothing. 9, 8, 7. Let's try again, off and on again. Yeah, there's some sort of activity, but then it stops. Anyways, they're all the same, they're all stuck in time. Okay, so the next step I guess it would be to check the read-write pin, which is 38, and I think that's to tell the RAM or something whether it's sending data or receiving data. And again, that should be pulsing. So that's pin number 38. And again, it's stuck in time. It works for actually like a couple of seconds. You see that, you know, it's telling something. Oh, not this time. Interesting. So power on again. Okay. It was more. It was active for more time a moment ago. So it looks like it's not doing the same thing every time. Interesting. Try again. Power on. There's a reset button on the cartridge. So I guess if I push it, yeah, it starts again. That's interesting. And I should actually see the reset line, which is pin number 40 now. It should go low and then high again. So I'm pressing the button in 3, 2, 1, go. You see it goes low and high. That's basically telling the processor, please reset. So let's check some data line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there is something's happening on the data line. That's perfectly normal again. And again, if I reset the whole thing, yeah, it's trying to do something. Now it stopped. Interesting. But the address line is not doing anything. I reset it again, it works, and it stops. Maybe, maybe not. No, this time it's going on. Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes it stops, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. I think the next thing I want to do is to check the memory modules with the scope and see again if there's any, maybe this one module is not showing any activity, even though obviously there's everything is going on a big bus. So you know, unless there's a stuck line, like it's always high, always low, we can give it a go and see what happens. But let me find the schematic, the pinout for the memory modules. Okay, so I think I found the schematics. Oh, I left this on. And these are again 8-bit, but it's how do you say that? It's 8-bit address and 1 bit out. So because you have 8 chips here, they all together basically output an 8-bit data, if that makes any sense. So I've got the pin out here. Let me check I would check the voltage first, which is pin 8, which is supposed to be 8 volt and 5 volts. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. The next one would be to check I would check the output first, which I think is pin 14. So that would be the 3rd here. And well, something's happening every now and then. This is mainly high. And this one is something's happening. This one, again, something's happening. This one, something's happening. This one is mostly low. It's always low. Okay, that's a bit meh. And this one, again, something's happening. This one, something's happening. And this one, something's happening. This one, it's a bit meh. And actually, I think I've noticed it's well, not by much, but it's the one that gets warmer. but yeah. Oh, wait, it's not low anymore. I'm wondering, because I don't like these sockets. I'm wondering whether, or maybe it was just me, maybe it was just me not making good contact, because these chips are dirty. Okay, anyways, something's happening here. Let's check the, I would check before checking the address lines, there's a write pin, which is, I think, is basically when the CPU is instructing the memories, I'm writing to you now, I'm not reading. So when the CPU sends an address, it could be I want to read from that address or I want to write on that address. And there's another pin which, when it gets high or low, whatever, is telling the memory, okay, you need to store this or I need to read what you have on that memory location. And again, that should be pulsing ideally. So that's pin number 3. Let's see what we have. Something's happening here every now and then. This is always high. This is, something's happening every now and then. That's the same. This is always high. Always high. Something's happening every now and then, and something's happening every now and then. So let's get one which is always high, which was it that one? Yeah. Okay, let's power it off and power it on again and see if something happens when it cycles to the first instructions. Yeah, okay. Something is happening here. So which one was another one? Try this one too. Off. On. Yeah, something's happening here. And something's happening on that one too. I think it's probably just a matter of waiting a little bit. This is always high, yeah, but then something, every now and then you see some activity there, which again, it doesn't mean much, but at least you know maybe something's happening. Okay, when it comes to the address lines, to be honest, it's a bit question mark. I don't know what you can see from them, to be honest. They should be directly connected to the CPU, so if I'm checking address line 7, which is pin 9, and again, you can see some activity already. If I power off and on again, there should be something happening. Yeah, for a split second before it stops. Okay. Right, so I found the pinout of this. This is the VIC chip, which stands for Video Interface Chip. That's the VIC2. And I found the pinout, so I need to find out exactly which is which, but I think we got luminance on pin 15. So the last one is pin 20, so that's 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. Let's see what it says here. I'd say nothing, even though, yeah, there's really nothing. There's nothing on luminance, and let's go on color. Nothing happening there. So to me that means there's no video output. Let's check there's a voltage in. Yes, 5 volts. That's good. Okay, and so what I found on the internet is to run this that test program. You only need the CPU, the VIC2, and what is that called? I can't remember. This 3. You don't need anything else. Well, the RAM obviously. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove everything I can. Oops. I never like doing that. Okay, so we got 1, 2, and 3. These are still ROMs, but they're not socketed, so I don't know, I'll just leave it there for the time being, and see if it makes any difference. I doubt it, but let's give it a go. I'm looking at the screen and there's nothing coming through. One thing I can try, apparently there's an easy, very easy way to check these memory modules using an Arduino. It apparently really takes a minute. So that could be something that I can try. But I think at this stage I really would like to take a scientific, you know, if I had another one, I can try and swap in chips around and you know, eventually find what's wrong with it. But I'd like to find out what's wrong with it rather than guessing it. So I'd like to read something on this subject, you know, what to do next. I can't remember exactly which one is the ROM, which one is supposed to work with this cartridge, without, when the cartridge is in, you know, what I can remove, and move from there. And then maybe, yeah, I could try in a memory tester and see what it does. Okay, so I followed some instructions online. I have an Arduino, that's a very old one, and I put together the wiring to test these RAM modules, which, you know, they are known for fail, to be honest. So for failing, that's it. So I think it's a, you know, it's a good thing to be able to test them without having another machine, and I show you pictures and a video of it. But basically, that's how it works. I reset the Arduino now, the code starts, and he's doing, there's an explanation online, but I think he's writing and reading data on each one of the bit. I think it's 255 bit and 56, and in this case it says test done. So let me try all the other modules and see what happens. Okay, this is next module. Okay. So I have tried removing one of the wires, and it actually comes up with an error message on one of the rows. So it seems to be working. And, you know, I feel this is a great way, because I think this is actually writing on the chip. So second tested okay, this is the third one. Not sure why every time I have to reopen this. Aha! Let's try again, reset now. There you go, unless I made a mistake here. Could be, because these breadboards, they're usually quite unreliable in terms of contacts. Let's try again. And the number has changed. Wow. Okay, so maybe, I mean, these memory modules are actually quite inexpensive apparently. But yeah, it keeps failing. Okay, so now, out of curiosity, I want to put back the one which tested bad. No. Okay, wow, so that seems bad. Cool, that's amazing. Okay, so I suddenly remembered I have an Apple IIe in the house. And it should run the same type of memory. So this is actually a different model. So the one I have from the Apple II is the 8264, which is this thing here. I just want to see if the pinout is the same. It is. Yeah, so let's test it well, I know it works because the Apple II works. But I want to test it in the Arduino and Control Shift M. Okay, Control Shift M, and there you go. It actually works. That's actually a good test because I knew it was working. Again, I know this is a working one, and that's interesting because then I mean, in theory, with a bad memory module, the C64 should, well, the dead test cartridge should work. So I don't know, it's a bit weird that it didn't. But yeah, let's reassemble them all and see what happens. Okay, so I've just tested my Apple II memory module. So this is the bad one. It has an X on it. Let me put all the memory modules back. At this point, let me try and, so these are for the other, from the other board. Let me try and power it up like this with the dead test cartridge in it. Only because, again, it should work. Okay. It should work without the rest of the chips. We should get something on screen. That's what they, well, that's what I've seen on the internet, to be honest. So power is on, power up now, and let's see what happens. It should take a few seconds to go on screen, but yeah, not too many seconds. Okay, let me see if there's any, oops, push here. Okay, let me see if there's any activity somewhere. I don't know, random pin. Not really. Is there a reset line? Oh yes, 1 volt. Oh, I reset the whole thing and okay. So my reset line is high, my clock is coming. Okay, but I don't see activity anywhere. Okay. So okay, I think I may have found something, and it looks like the CPU, not all the time, but sometimes it gets really warm, and I don't think that's a good sign, to be honest. The VIC-2 gets warm as well. I guess that's the reason why. That's the reason why there's a little cover which has this metal flap on it, which sits on this VIC-2 and basically makes the cover a heatsink. The CPU, I don't know, it's just, it gets, not all the time, but I can feel there's a hot spot in the middle. There it is, I can feel it now. And it burns my finger. Yeah, it's burning now. You know, just after a few seconds. No, that doesn't feel right, to be honest. And again, unless there's a short, so I think actually when I was testing this before, it wasn't really. Everything else is, besides this two, everything else is not hot, including the memory modules. I can check with my thermal camera, but I have a feeling it wasn't really getting warm a few minutes ago when I was testing. Let me test it again. Again, it takes only a few seconds. Still fine. it's getting warm now. And it's getting hot now. Oh, yeah, okay. I want to try and remove those chips. The ones that I put back. Just wondering whether again it's a bit weird, because you would expect the faulty chip to burn and not another one. So I'm a bit tempted to think it's the CPU which is not working here. Right. Let's try again. So there's only memory now. The memory is known for getting warm when it fails. I have removed the one from the Apple II just in case we didn't like it. But yeah, but it's warm. It's not hot to touch. Let's try with the VIC 2 again. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's boiling. Okay. Okay, so I was on eBay buying memory modules, and I was trying to find out, making sure I was buying the right memory modules. And then I found, because again, the CPU is getting really hot, and I was like, well, maybe I could try and find a new CPU, and they're not easy to find. So I found a website in England, by the way, that sells those CPU for like 12 or 18 pounds. So yeah, not a big deal. And there was a note that said, if I'm out of stock, check for 85. These are the 6510 CPUs. He said, check for 8500 CPUs, which are working fine in Breadbins as well. And this new board, which is the newer version, happens to have an 8500 on it. So I guess I can use this board as a part, at least for now. And again, if the CPU works, then I'll get another 8500 or one for this one, whatever. Okay, here's the 8500, and well, again, the good thing is I have, this is the one on the Breadbin is socketed. I didn't, it's never a good idea to solder and desolder components over and over again. So they say that if that's the same pin out, well, the same size, pins should be fine. Okay. Okay, let's put that memory chip back in. And at this point, I would say, I hate these sockets. Not bad, but anyways, they're blue. So yeah, that's my Apple II. So let's put this is called the kernel. I don't know what it does, but I know it goes here. And then I have one of the ROMs. That's not needed, that's potentially broken. Well, no, this is needed. Ooh. Yes, so that is going here. Okay, so let's take the cartridge out in case it works. Let's check the orientation of all the chips. Okay, let's say, let's give it a go and see what happens. Now, can you see everything from there? Yes. Keep my finger on the CPU. 3, 2, 1, go. No, the CPU is getting warm again. So yeah, let me try again, but it's getting warm too fast, I think. Yeah. There's some, it really gets hot from the middle. Okay, so I've decided to go the easy way with this C64, and I placed an order for a new processor, new PLA, and a new VIC-2. So this should be the CPU, which is 6510. Again, I have now an 8500, which should work. But I don't know, it wasn't too expensive, so I'll just place an order for that one too. Oh. Which way? There we go. And here we go, the VIC-2 on top and the PLA here. Let me remove the CPU, which comes from the newer 664 board, to be honest, which I hope I will fix at some point. There you go, CPU here, PLA here, and that's going to be a bit more tricky. Always hate doing that. There we go. Let's make sure we have, okay. And PLA is, okay, yep. Everything is okay. The what's the name? Where is it? The VIC chip is revision 4 rather than 3, but I read online it's okay. So let's start with the VIC. Okay, and we have a PLA. And the brand new CPU. Okay, so I haven't got the SID is not needed, but I'd like to try without the ROMs. I can remember, this is the ROM, these are the CIAs, because again my dead test cartridge should work without them. Okay, let's plug the video output. And power is off. have anything shorting, anything in the wrong way? Nope. So let me okay. So power to the power supply is on, and I would say let's power it up and see what happens. If it doesn't work, it's an interesting one. I'll put my, I guess, my finger on the CPU, see if it gets warm again. 3, 2, 1, go. There's something happening. There's a video output. Whoa! It actually works. Fair enough. So that's the test happening. It's testing all the memory. I mean, this is an LCD screen, and I guess that instability is kind of normal, maybe. I don't know. Never tried it. So it looks like it's working. So let me plug the rest of the chips and see if it boots the way it's supposed to boot. So I labeled this 1 and 2, and I can't remember which is 1 and which is 2. Oh, 1 and 2, fair enough. It's on the board. 1, 2, and the ROM, the should be the ROM. I may say something incorrect when it comes to C64s. Again, I don't know the 64 very much, so please apologies if I'm saying something wrong. Let's remove the cartridge and let's see what happens. This would be my first C64 in like ever. So see what happens. Okay, well, it works. That's so cute. Cool. Looks good. And yeah, definitely my first 664. Now I'm curious to see which of the chips was faulty. So let me try with the PLA first, only because it's easier to remove. That one, the VIC is a bit. This shield is preventing me from using this or any tool around it. So that's not great. Okay, so that's the good one, and let's install the original one. Definitely I'm replacing it with the right one. Still not familiar with numbers and things. 906114, yeah. Okay, let's give it a go, see what happens. Seems to be working. Yeah. So it is either the VIC or the CPU. Again, let's try the CPU. I shouldn't be, because in theory I tried another one. But let's try the CPU again, because it's easier to remove. There we go. So the old CPU is this. And CPUs, as far as I know, they're quite resilient. So that would be unusual. While I've seen many videos with the VIC replaced and maybe the PLA memory modules all the time. No, that's working. So it is the VIC too, as somehow suspected. Cool. So let's give it a go. Again, it's difficult to replace, but I'm curious now, just in case it works when I put the other one back in. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. And it doesn't work. Okay, fair enough. So it's definitely a bad VIC. What I'd like to do maybe at some point, if I'm bored tomorrow or Sunday, to probe this VIC and then probe the good one, do some comparisons, see what happens. But yeah, this is definitely faulty. There we go. Let's put a big X on it, and that's gone. Let's replace it with the working one. And let's try again. Yeah, it's definitely an output straight away. Wow, okay. The next step on this board, I would like to replace these sockets. Even though they look like really high quality, I don't like this, to be honest. So I have some black ones, you know, go white one. I don't know, I just like to make it a little more pretty. So replace all the sockets. Also, let me see, you can see that capacitor is leaked at some point, so I'll replace that one too. And again, at some point, as you can see, this board is filthy. After I've done all the soldering work and everything, I just want to wash it thoroughly, and then it should be done, to be honest. Okay, the new sockets are in. I checked them with my multimeter. I checked continuity. Everything seems fine. I've only lost one pad, which thankfully looks like it's not connected to anything on any of this, so should work. Let's populate it, test it, and cross our fingers. And I've also replaced this little fella, a little bit too much solder there, anyways, with an identical one. That's a 10 microfarad capacitor, 25 volts. And here is our moment of truth. I've got all my memories back in, the new capacitor, and the polarity is okay. The power supply is on. Switch it on and see what happens. Okay, well, works. So that was a good thing. Again, it was working before, but I just didn't like those crappy colored recycled sockets. I received these today. It's tape simulator for the Commodore 64. It basically allows me to save tape images on an SD card on Windows, and I plug this on the tape interface, which is that little small one there, and basically when you power it up, it loads a browser which you have to save on the SD card, and it basically simulates again a tape. It's very slow. Yeah, so I'm gonna show you how it works. So I switch it on. That doesn't do anything, and you have the usual C64 screen here. So apparently you have to press Shift run stop to basically run the tape. It finds the browser on the tape. It says it says found browser.prg. It's a very small file, but it takes a lot to load. And apparently this is fast. And once it's loaded, you end up with this. So I have the browser itself, this bubble, and the Doriath. So let me show you the bubble thing. The music is a bit loud because I can't turn it too much down. My speaker is at minimum and it's a bit loud, but it's so cute. That's my old monitor. Just decided to recycle it here. So ready, and if you look at the thing, it's loading now. Still loading. It's about, I don't know, 100 kilobytes, but it's still loading. Right, my Apple IIe is plugged in. I got the other memory in, and again, nothing horrible should happen. See what happens. I should have a diagnostic disk running. So let's see if it boots up first. 3, 2, 1, go. Yes. There you go. So that's telling me the RAM is working. Right, there is a built-in diagnostic with the Apple. I can't remember, I think it's both Apple keys and power it up. Oops, yes. So this is the built-in system diagnostic. See what it says. But to me, the memory is working enough. I mean, you wouldn't get that if they were completely non-functional. It says system okay, so again, chances are, to be honest, is the disk. I know these disks are getting more and more unreliable. Okay, you see it read better now. Oh, there you go. It's just a disk. So A, main memory. It's loading, and yeah, it was just a disk. And you can see these are actually the memory chips. You have 8G, which stands for good. Can you see that from there? Yeah. So in theory, you know, now it says pass 1. So if one memory is bad, it would say, I guess, GGB, GGGGG. So we can try the faulty one in a moment. I'm actually quite curious to try that. Power it up and see what happens. 3, 2, I'm still recording everything. Yeah, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, it doesn't even beep. Look at that. It's actually faulty. So the Arduino is actually doing a good job. Look, it's not booting up, and you only have garbage. Wow. Very, very interesting. Let's try the diagnostic. It doesn't even start the diagnostic. Very, very interesting. So that's definitely bad. Okay, wow. Okay, definitely bad.